Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 3 p.m. Central session for Data Over Instinct. This is our final session for the day. We have gone through and looked at so many different angles of thinking about how to better measure your marketing projects and campaigns through marketing analytics. We've done everything from a 101 session. We've really dug into website conversion tracking and optimization, looked at more in-depth metrics and calculations, even looked at learning R. And to close today out, we're really excited. We have Chris Price and Sophie Yee from Facebook. They're here to talk a little bit about measurements when looking at emerging technologies. So again, as marketers, we're always so excited to hop on the newest technology or the newest, most innovative way to be able to reach our prospects and existing customers. But there's always the question of, how do you measure it? How do you know if it is effective and if it's actually driving revenue to the bottom line? And so they're going to be talking about a cool new tool from Facebook. It's been around for about a year, but then we're going to talk about how, with a tool like that, how you actually would measure it and how to think of where new tools and softwares and technologies can really fit in your marketing tech stack and in your measurement strategy. So we actually are going to be watching about a 20-minute video of their presentation, and then we're going to open it up to a fireside chat and just doing some Q&A with them. So please put any questions that you have in the live Q&A. I'll be sure to address them at the end. And now we're going to see if Zoom is going to work for this. So let's see. I have faith in this, you guys. I think this is going to work. Perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my video, and let's see if the audio works.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris Price.
And I'm Sophie Yee.
And we're here to talk about how we measure success for emerging technology. We'll be taking an approach at answering the topic by applying it to how we help partners.
It sounds like we may have just lost the audio, so I'm going to give it just one more moment and see if there's a setting I need to change here. Give me just one moment.
For those of you who do not know what SparkKr is our end-to-end platform for the creation, distribution, and consumption of augmented reality on smartphones today and smart glasses in the future. SparkKr powers all of our augmented reality experiences across our family of apps. You can test and build your AR effects in AAR Studio, which is our tooling environment, and then upload it to the Effects Hub. From there, you can publish it to Facebook, Instagram, our Messenger, which is coming soon, and then track the metrics all from within inside the hub and to continue improving your marketing campaign.
It's crazy to imagine that we launched the platform on Instagram just over a year ago, and since then, we've seen an amazing adoption of creativity, capturing the imagination and diversity of so many types of creators, ranging from designers and artists to animators and developers. all coming together from different parts of the creative world to help shape and define this new medium. Today, SparkKr is the largest platform for mobile AR with more than 400,000 creators from over 190 countries. This community has also published over 1.2 million AR effects on both Facebook and Instagram. And over half of our monthly AR Studio users are women. The platform truly is a unique opportunity to empower and enable all types of creators from all over the world. Many of you might know SparkKr best for the cool face effects and fun experiences, but it also enables other powerful AR use cases,
such as trying on various products within Instagram shopping. For example, we partnered with NARS, MAC, and Ray-Ban for you to try on glasses or makeup, making it even easier to purchase with inside of Instagram.
Next, we'll run through AR capabilities. We have a number of creative features and capabilities available within SparkKr to help you and your brand build out amazing AR experiences for your digital marketing efforts. Here are just a few of the popular ones available today, and we'll run through a few examples.
First is face tracking. And so we have powerful AI that actually tracks the user's face, which allows you to create head-turning experiences by using the best-in-class face tracking to produce more accurate interactions and noticeable effects. Here are just two examples that allow you to have self-expression or to transform you into a different character.
Lighting is also important because it helps illuminate objects in a realistic way, which is crucial when you're working on emerging tech such as AR. This is a great idea for 3D objects to provide realistic shadows and depth. This is also applicable as we start to think about our broader AR commerce efforts as well, and making sure we're providing users with realistic versions of physical products.
Sound is critical to our perception of the world. We think it's increasingly what separates the good from the great amongst AR experiences too. So music is an integral part of the platform, and millions of people use music every day to add meaning and emotion to the moments that they share. Creators can now augment and extend this desire to share by creating AR effects that move and play in sync with music. Here's an example that I created of a pair of Nikes that I scanned with a 3D scanner. If you notice, they're actually dancing to music that you can't hear at the moment. But if you were trying it in your Instagram camera, you could actually play your own music, and these would actually dance to whatever audio that you selected.
And another functionality is segmentation. Here we have two examples of both background segmentation and hair segmentation. One of the many reasons why AR is so fun is it enables you to transform or transport to an alternate universe. And on the left, we have a great example from one of our top creators, Mate Steinforth, that enables you to add this cool fire effect to any of your Instagram stories to up-level the content that you're posting. And on our right, another top creator enables you to transform into a fun Disney princess with hair segmentation as well as augmentation to your face.
Next is plane tracking. In this capability, we'll find a horizontal surface in the real world, like a floor or a table. Some of the best AR effects are those that give you an enhanced view of a familiar place or ordinary objects, offering a glimpse into an alternative world. There are a few different ways to augment someone's world, from making objects and effects appear on surfaces to placing them in fixed positions in the environment. They'll behave and sometimes even look like real-world objects, except you can only see them through the camera on your smartphone. It's also anchoring of world objects and effects to spaces and places that encourages the user to move their device, exploring the augmented world around them. The one on the left is the character Poppy from the DreamWorks film Trolls World Tour. You can dance and play around with the character in your real-world environment. On the right, we have a top creator, Kim. He's really special in that he takes realistic objects and creates these really immersive storytelling characters with them. We're excited to see what people do with plane tracking.
And my favorite functionality is target tracking, being able to anchor AR experiences to objects in the world around you. For brands, target tracking opens up new possibilities, including AR experiences tied to posters, packaging, billboards, displays, and so much more. It also unlocks a new opportunity to connect with people on Facebook or Instagram and enable them to now engage with branded content in an entirely new and more immersive way. Here is an example that we did with 29 Rooms last year. We created the Mirage, an immersive target AR room that included 9 unique targets throughout the experience. We activated a large projection mural wall, which you can see here. We have a neon target, a spinning target, and a volumetric portal that enables you to look in at a dancing ballerina.
So how do you build a successful AR campaign? First, you want to understand your goals. What are you hiring the emerging tech, or in this case, SparkKr, to do? It's hard to know if your campaign has been successful if you don't know what you're actually driving forward in your objective. We are seeing a range of applications for AR that go along with the marketing journey from awareness to conversion. The first being brand value, which are experiences that amplify the emotional connection of a brand's value. The second is the brand purpose, a goal focused on reinforcing the reason behind the brand existing. The third would be the product value, which celebrates the positioning of a product.
Fourth is product trial, through elevating the product's benefits and the reason to believe its value. For product purchase, demonstrate the use of a product through AR. And promotion, driving purchase and in-store visits to help you achieve your business objectives and to focus on conversion. After you understand your goal, you can shift your focus to explore the opportunities that exist within the digital marketing landscape and leverage the new technology available. With SparkKr, there are a few services to drive awareness or conversion. If you're interested in improving engagement or brand lift, look to Facebook and Instagram. These two services provide you with the opportunity to deepen interactions and engagement. Incorporate AR in a way that is authentic to you, your brand, and your followers. AR will reshape all kinds of industries in the coming years, but one area it's already changing is commerce. Today, consumers are using AR to virtually try out everything, from makeup, sunglasses, and hats, to visualizing what virtual appliances, refrigerators, and furniture will look like right in their own homes. It's a significant shift in the way brands and retailers are engaging with consumers to help them make purchasing decisions with more comfort and confidence.
So once you're ready to promote your AR experience, there's a few number of effective channels you can use to expand its reach and make the most of your marketing strategies. The first, through the Instagram or Facebook Stories camera. You can capture a photo or video using the effect and then post it directly to your story. The second is feed posts. You can add product tags to your posts and post effect videos to your feed to drive awareness of the experience. The next is influencers. By collaborating with influencers who already have a strong following, you can expand your audience. And dynamic ads. Dynamic ads automatically show you the right products to the right people who have already expressed interest in your product elsewhere on the web, whether that's in an app or on the internet. And this is all leveraging the Facebook Pixel.
After your campaign is live, go back to the AR Hub so you can track and understand how your effect is performing. For general AR effects, there are 3 categories of insight: discovery, engagement, and audience. And amongst these 3 categories, we provide 7 metrics, ranging from impressions, opens, captures, saves, shares, gender, and age. Now, when you break down each category, they all point to a different component of your campaign. Discovery is important to focus on because that will help you better understand how to improve your promotional efforts. Engagement is pertaining to the actual AR effect. Are people interested in the content? Are they interested in the assets? And is the quality up to par where people want to engage with it? And for audience, this metric enables you to better understand who's highly engaged with your content and who maybe isn't as engaged. So the next time you begin to think about the AR experience, you have a sense of who your target audience is.
You can add AR effects to the ads with the following objectives: brand awareness, traffic, conversions, and reach. So in addition to the effect insights, we have additional metrics to help you measure and optimize the performance of your ad campaign. These range from instant experience view time, view percentage, effect shares, and in the Facebook tracking pixel data. When we look at instant experience view time, it's the average total time in seconds that people spent viewing your instant experience. When we look at view percentage, it's the average percentage of the instant experience that people saw. And then when we look at the effect shares, it's the number of times someone shared a photo or a video with the effect. And then the last is the common one that everyone knows about, which is the pixel data, which helps you optimize your Facebook ads for conversion events on your website that align with the business goals, such as purchases and signups.
And we're excited to share a success story for AR Ads. Michael Kors is a brand that prioritizes innovation and was excited to be the first advertiser to test out AR Ads on Facebook. They wanted to incorporate AR effects as a way to bring people closer to their products and experiences in a fun and interactive way. By incorporating a call to action in the camera experience, the viewer can seamlessly move from engaging with the product to making a purchase. They can also share this with friends and families to get feedback. This test resulted in a 20.4-point lift in ad recall, which references the number of people who will remember the ad 2 days within seeing it, a 5-point lift in favorability, 3.9 lift in purchase intent, and 14% incremental lift in purchases.
So what does success look like for you? Success can vary depending on the initial objective and the type of AR experience that you have built. With that, we have some tips on identifying success for you and your brand. The first being finding alternative signals. AR enables people to have more immersive and engaging experiences. So leverage your community for feedback and reactions to your campaign. You may notice that people engage with these types of media in new ways that we haven't seen before on other surfaces. The next is establish a benchmark. Leverage the insights you have from existing campaigns in the past to begin building a benchmark for yourself to try these new emerging technologies against. And then experiment. Emerging technologies are new, and no one has the right answers for what works best just now. Be open to trying new things and learning. And then the last is to track the trends. Keep up to speed on the digital marketing trends and experiments that others in your industry are doing. You never know what's going to go viral and take off. So you might as well keep track of the trends, see if it works for you, and how you can implement it for yourself. With that, we have one more video we'd like to show you, which shows our vision for AR as we move forward into next year, and as we build towards a future of augmented reality glasses. So with that, we wanted to give you a huge thank you, and we're open to the Fireside Chat next.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and turn our videos on and we can start our chat. Well, Chris and Sophie, that was really fun to watch. I know I personally have not engaged with that technology yet as a consumer. So it's really great to see both of your perspectives and coming in from the business lens of all the different success stories you've seen so far. So first of all, thank you for that great intro. So in kicking into this fireside chat, I'd love a little bit of background about how you both got to where you are today. I know that you both have some pretty interesting backgrounds. Sophie, if you want to go first, and then we'll hear from Chris.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, thank you for having us both. We're really excited to be here. So for me, I think it was by chance, I would say. I was working at a company in China where we were working on photo, video editing apps. And they also had a hardware device. And I started to experiment with what was known back then as the camera effects platform. So the old version of Spark. And that really piqued my interest in AR. And I'm originally from the Bay Area. And, after working closely with the Facebook team, there was an opportunity to really be one of the first team members to build out our partnerships with Spark. So that's really how I got started with AR and Spark specifically.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny too. So I started at Facebook in Facebook Analytics, right? And so I actually joined Facebook to work on the Facebook Analytics product and help brands and businesses understand their metrics and how to do their marketing campaign. So I'm very familiar from the ad side of things and how to use the Facebook pixel and that data. And at the same time, when I joined the company, Facebook was also going through a lot of scrutiny on their ads products and marketing products, and of course, Cambridge Analytica, right? But at the same time, they just also announced their camera effects platform, which was like Sophie said, the previous version of Spark. Very weird name, camera effects platform. And at the same time, Snapchat had Lens Studio, and they were promoting people to create lenses. And I was actually a diehard Snapchat creator. And so I was like, how do I create these lenses or filters on a Facebook platform? And at the time it was AAR Studio, and Facebook just had beta. And I sat next to our old team member, Andrew Wamugi, and he was telling me, oh, these cool filters and fun effects that you can make on Facebook. And I was like, that's super cool. Can I get in the beta? And so he got me in the beta. And then I was playing around creating fun filters and things for people in our broader team for either weddings, going aways, baby showers. I didn't expect it to get as big as it was. I thought it was just kind of like a fun thing. Then kind of slowly emerged and kind of taken off, but I would go home and make these things after I got off from doing analytics. And my director at the time was like, Chris, I also manage that team. Since you're going home and doing it for fun, how about you do it as your job? And I was like, I didn't think about that. And so that's what brought me over to the team with Sophie.
So I think it's really interesting, Chris, going from the analytics and insights team over to an innovative technology team. Walk me through going from something super measurable where you can really get your hands around the actual dollars contributed to the revenue and the bottom line to going over to something that's very innovative and, blue skies. How has that transition been as far as getting businesses to adopt the technology? And what do you think the pushback or the holdback has been for marketers to do this so far?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's kind of funny because I always say data always helps you kind of understand how to use an emerging technology, especially when you can combine the two, right? And so when you have a powerful tool like Facebook Analytics, and and at the time, the Facebook Analytics product, I'm not sure if it still has this or not, but it had a really robust, powerful way to show you the data about demographics, right? And what people were interested when they followed you. I don't know if a lot of people on this call remember those, but it had a people tab, and that people tab was pretty powerful. And it actually was taken out during the same time I was there. And so when that changed, I was like, my view on like how you could leverage that for emerging tech is kind of different, because then you have to, it's more work to kind of get some data that you already know is there, but it's you don't have just access to self-identifiable data from users and all this other stuff. So it becomes a little bit more complicated. But if you understand your audience well enough, when it comes to these emerging technologies like AR or something else that's new in the space, you could actually apply what you do know to the unknown, right? And so with that, it's kind of interesting when you look at ARs, because some marketers know how their audience interacts with whatever they're posting, what they're talking about. If they take that same idea and what their interests are from their audience and then apply that into the form of AR, they usually have a really good result. Or if they apply it to another emerging technology, it usually performs really well. It's when they don't apply what they know to that and just kind of go off the whim with it is when it doesn't do too well, or they try to chase something because they saw somebody else do it. It just doesn't work that well with a specific audience. And also going back to understanding the platform that you're pushing these new emerging technologies to and how those users interact with that is also very impactful. So it's like, you're not going to build something in a way that people don't naturally go to Instagram to use that camera for, or they naturally don't go to Facebook to use that service for. Those audiences are different. And the same can be seen for what do people go to Snapchat to do versus like Instagram. Those audiences are completely different. So the same marketing techniques you use on that won't actually work the same way on Facebook or Instagram or another surface. So just understanding the how you do it.
I feel like that is advice that's really applicable across the board when marketers are considering which new innovative technologies to apply. Is if your users aren't already there, you're not likely going to convince them to go there just to do that fun engagement. Instead, meet them where they are. So that's a really great takeaway, Chris. Sophie, question for you. What has been your favorite AR campaign to date?
Oh, we have worked on so many that I think it's tough, but I would choose two. I think the one that's been really exciting is definitely our efforts around commerce. And I think one of the big reasons for that is you're really starting to see the use case and the ROI for brands and businesses, right? And there's a very hard number that you can look at, conversion, et cetera. So for me, I think that's really exciting because we're starting to show the utility of AR and emerging tech. Separately, I think AR is such a great tool for you to connect with, your friends, followers, clients, customers, et cetera, in a very immersive way that traditional marketing tactics might not be able to do. So I think for that, selfishly, what we did with 29 rooms was really fun. Being able to see people walk through this I think there were 3 small rooms, and it all led up to a room where you could really explore and unlock the power of AR. So for me, those two, right? Like pushing creatively, helping you understand what are new ways to interact with people. That's not just like, hey, here's an ad, but hey, here's a way to explore us from a different way to understand my brand voice. And then of course, more of the ROI type of activations coming out of commerce.
Yeah, I definitely love the ROI activation. As a marketer that loves data, I definitely understand how that's valuable. A question I have related kind of to that, in budget tight times such as the pandemic, right? So we saw right whenever it happened, everybody's marketing budgets contracted really quickly, and they're starting to loosen up again, but who knows what's going to happen over the next couple of months. How would a marketer justify a budget for innovative technology like this? Like if you could put a deck together for a marketer to pitch this to the executive team, what would you say?
Chris, do you want me to take that one? Do you want to go first?
I can touch on it a little bit. So it's kind of funny that this is a question that we've definitely had to face. And it's like when people are thinking about, especially when COVID first hit, a lot of everyone stopped their campaigns. They pulled a lot back. And of course, some people lost their jobs as well. And so things got really dire for a lot of different brands and businesses. One of the other interesting things about AR in general is since people are also stuck at home and now they're no longer going into physical environments, the usage of AR and the interest in AR is actually increased. And so if you actually were to say if me and Sophie were not busy, we are crazy busy now because AR is how do I get in front of my customer when the customer is at home? AR is now a new solution that can actually do that. And when it comes to the commerce efforts, it's like, how do you sell products or show the brand value of those things and actually have those conversions? You can actually place the product in someone's environment now. They no longer have to go out their house to try on makeup or to see the product in their space. So AR is increasingly now getting those budgets that were going to be sent to other traditional marketing ways, and now it's kind of being sent that direction, which is also really interesting, because a lot of companies and brands and businesses who were previously kind of standoffish from the AR emerging tech is now leaning into it. And you can also see this in like your day to day when you go outside, and now QR codes is the standard, right? And everyone knows how to scan a QR code, right? It's like magic now. But it's one of these interesting things where it's happening. At the beginning, I think the marketing budgets were kind of dire, but I think they're starting to open it up and starting to see the value, especially with the commerce efforts. And now you can actually put that quantifiable data, which digital marketers and people about analytics love to see, because now it's no longer like, is this causing return on investment? I know exactly it's causing return on investment. So.
Yeah. And to add on that, I think there are two parts, right, for AR, and I think for marketing campaigns. One is creating the actual content, and the second one is running that campaign. And I think one part, if we touch on the content production budget, there, back probably 2.5 years ago when Chris and I were first starting, the cost and barrier to entry was significant and really scary, I think, for a lot of our partners. But, we mentioned our amazing statistics for our creator community. I think there are alternative ways and budget-friendly ways to create actual AR effects. And for the marketing campaign and that budget, I think it's really important to think about AR holistically and as a part of your natural campaign. So you shouldn't be doing AR for the sake of it. There should be a holistic campaign that you're putting towards, or that you're working towards. So that's just something to think about as well, instead of just wanting to do it for the sake of it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's really helpful. Okay, question for both of you. What surprises you most about your job? Well, Chris, we'll let you go first.
Yeah.
That's not hard. So that's a good and hard one. So I feel like I'm surprised every single day with it, right? And so especially when we opened up the platform to more people. In the beginning, it was a very small niche of people who just like new tech, right? And now it's like slowly growing, and it's growing rapidly. And like Sophie said, like we have over 400,000 creators across the globe, and half of them are women. And so some of the stuff that's coming out of this, these aren't like your super technical developers building these things. These are like artists, and these are like kids, and these are teenagers. Everyone across the board are building these experiences. And so what's coming out of it is there's new use cases that we wouldn't even have imagined if we would have just gone around it ourselves. And we're seeing new and interesting things, even in the marketing campaigns, of how people are just kind of coming up with new ideas to kind of drive some return on their investment. And I don't think we would have seen it if it was so closed-minded or as hard to get started. And so the software does have a little bit of a barrier of entry in that it's not the easiest, but if you sit down and start playing around with it, you start to understand how to experiment and kind of just dive into it, and don't be afraid to make a mistake and just try it. I always tell people when they're talking to our team, like, if a little high schooler could do it, you could do it. And one of the things I was doing last year, I was literally traveling almost every other week, teaching influencers how to build effects and how to put them into their what they're already doing and understanding it. And one of the simple ways to do it is just to create a simple face effect, because it shows you the basics of like putting something on your face, whether it's face paint or something else, that then opens it. You starting to think about how you can flip the camera around and start placing 3D objects in your environment. And we have partnerships with like Sketchfab, which is the largest online repository of 3D assets. So if you can't create a 3D asset, you have access to over, I think, 500,000 Creative Commons assets, which you can just drop into and start get going. And so I think once you start to see what people are able to make and just are freely open to making, that's the really surprising part of it. And I love our creator community. They're probably one of the most passionate and exciting group of people you'll ever meet. And they really challenge us to kind of learn what we could be doing better and what the signal is from the industry and how we can do better. And that's across both just traditional organic stuff, but also things that drive business value. Because at the end of the day, the brands and the businesses, they have the money, right? And so we need to cater to them, software to help drive the ecosystem forward.
Yeah, I think, yeah, to Chris's point, every day there's something interesting. I think it's been really fascinating to see this adoption, of AR as a solution, as a business tool. And at least the willingness to explore how AR can be used to help certain jobs to be done for brands and businesses. I think that has been really great to see. And, I think our commerce efforts as well, just the impact there. And it's interesting because I think partners from across the various verticals of makeup is the most straightforward, but eyewear, furniture, it's really great to see that adoption. And, I think with COVID, brands are starting to see AR as a more realistic and future thinking solution.
Yeah, I love it. Next question. What's the biggest challenge your industry faces today? And we'll let Sophie go first for this one.
I still think it comes back to this topic that we're having right now, right? Measuring success. I think Chris talks about it in the deck, but AR has certain, non-quantifiable metrics that are also equally important. One thing that we've been exploring is, does AR help you learn things, generally, right? And that's an interesting topic because a lot of that might depend on direct feedback from community members, from users. So I think it's like the, engagement metrics that we do track, those are really helpful to understand, am I promoting my effect correctly? Am I targeting my AR ads correctly? But then also thinking about, feedback that you're getting from people using your experiences. I think that's really valuable. And starting to try to collect that in a way that is measurable, I think has been challenging. So I think for us, that's still definitely a tough point in the industry.
Yeah, I'll
what
say,
do you think, Chris?
She hit it right on the nail. And that's kind of why we kind of wanted to kind of go do this talk as well, is because like, this is one of the most topics that we get is like, how do I measure success for AR? And it's like, to be honest, it's a really hard question to answer. And honestly, it varies per person, per brand, per business, per your campaign, per everything that you're thinking about around it. And so it's like, how do you, with the technology being so new, we're constantly pushing out new metrics, figuring out ways that we can show that value. When it comes down to like the commerce efforts and shopping and those things that we can plug into the ads and everything else, that makes a lot more sense because you can track that funnel. Right? And so you understand like users, and there's the pixel data, and you can kind of see where they've been and if they're converting and all this other stuff. But when it comes down to the organic side of it, it's a little bit more vague. And so understanding how your audiences relate to the things that they care about, and even the way that they use these things on their apps, and they go through these apps and do, it's not going to be the same, or it's not going to be how the brand expected them to use it. And so understanding your customer and kind of meeting them where they're at to understand how that can actually provide some sort of brand value back to the business. And I think one of the other biggest challenges is, and this is just in AR in general, is asset creation, right? And so with AR and democratization of AR in general, one of the hardest things is creating assets and 3D assets in general, because it's not as simple and it's usually very costly. And so how do we simplify that process, especially once you start getting into like the commerce efforts and selling of products and other things like that? Brands and businesses want to show a product, right? But oftentimes they don't have that product created as a 3D asset, or it is a 3D asset and it's too large for an AR envelope of sorts, right? And so how do you get that optimized to a point where then they can run a campaign or can run something that actually can be measurable for that business? And so we're exploring lots of different routes about it. And a lot of people are, if you've listened to a couple of the different AR talks across the industry, you'll hear it's a very common question and very thing everyone's thinking about. But we are growing with that and learning and how to make it better. And so hopefully when everything is said and done, and in the future when everyone's wearing these glasses, things are easier and more acceptable, and people understand. And one of the good things is people are open to experimenting now. And so by the time the next computing platform is here, whether it's AR glasses or whatever, people will already understand how to best leverage these platforms in the most interesting ways. And so that's what I'm really excited about. And I think people are slowly getting there. And as much as I hate this year has helped a lot of people kind of adopt and understand and start to learn new things that which they haven't done in the past. So I'm really excited about that. So.
Yeah, it definitely accelerated adoption of technology across the board for a few different areas. I mean, you mentioned QR codes earlier. Who would have thought the QR code would have come back in 2020? I mean, I didn't.
Especially in the United States, it's insane.
It's insane. I know one of our prior talks, somebody said that their biggest tip for doing a mailer to make it trackable to include a QR code. And I was like, I never thought I'd hear that in 2020.
Yeah,
but
right?
Good point. Yeah, like it's actually an option again. So next question is, where do great ideas and innovation come from within your organization? Chris, would you like to go first?
They come from Chris Price.
Well, a lot of good ideas do come from me and Sophie, and it's like one of those things where it's like we eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, right? And we're constantly in these talks and hearing what's forward and future thinking from brands, businesses, internal, external, like everybody that's working on any part of it. So I feel like it's a collection of it, but I will say some of the best ideas honestly do come from understanding what our end users are wanting and kind of trying to build, and they just can't build it, right? And hearing their voices and actually taking that feedback and actually building out the resources they need to do it. Because once you do that, then you start to unlock these opportunities that they want. One of the things that we do at Facebook is we always working on new capabilities and stuff for augmented reality, but you never really see it until it's ready for scale. And so oftentimes when you see some of our competitors in the space release some new capability or some functionality, what you may not realize is the adoption of that feature or functionality just isn't there. And it's primarily because although it's a cool feature, it really doesn't provide a lot of value for brands or businesses or for the people who are actually going to be spending the money to actually try and have some sort of campaign around it. So it's really not worth the investment at this time. In the future, maybe, but at this time, maybe not, right? And so understanding what the community is actually saying, what the brands and businesses who are spending the money actually want to do and leverage this in an interesting way, give them the resources that they need to be successful at scale, let them prove that business value, that return on investment, and then build out the new things as those needs arise and as it's the industry. And so I think that's one of how I view it. So
I think when Chris and I think approach conversations with partners, it's really a multi-conversation where Chris and I really provide the perspective of what can AR do, what are some ways that we can push the technology, and we really rely on our partners to let us know what is your objective, what is your brand voice, how are people already connecting with your brand, what are existing interactions, because I think what's important to remember is my interaction with the brand won't necessarily change, but the way in which I interact will change. So you want to stay authentic to that. And I think knowing that and having that understanding from the brand, or whoever is really important. And Chris and I just think of like, what are some cool things that we can do with AR that help achieve that objective?
Yeah. I love it. I just had a couple of questions messaged to me privately. The first one is curious on what you feel is the biggest barrier to entry for companies to dip their toe into the AR water, and should they look for a partner to help them launch?
Yeah, I can touch on this one.
Chris, do you want to go?
I would say the biggest barrier of entry for like someone just trying to get ready is their own mentality of not wanting to experiment, right? And so it's one of those things, we built this awesome tooling called SparkKr Studio. And so whoever answered that question, go check it out, www.sparkkr.com. There's a ton of tutorials. We have a gigantic Facebook group, which is super supportive, also very trolly. So be careful if you ask them questions, but feel free to ask some questions. They're really fun. They're very social, but they see what people are building in the community and just try building something for yourself. Like you're an individual, you don't have to build for your brand today. You can build for yourself. And the platform is support of businesses, but you as an individual could release your own AR experience today, see how it performs, understand the basics of it, and then take that back to your leadership and pitch them on, like, I think this could be an opportunity for our brand or business. And I created a prototype or a little sample that I can show you, and you can kind of see it. Because the cost of it, it's free, right? And so even if you have access to the social media accounts, you could run an organic campaign just by publishing something to that account. So just don't be afraid, experiment. Our community is very supportive, very helpful. Like I said, we also have a partnership with Sketchfab. And so if you can't make 3D assets, we make it super easy to bring in 3D assets. You can put a hat if you're a hat business, you can put some glasses, you can put a dragon if you felt like it. So just experiment. I think that's, once you understand that part of it, the rest of it, you'll start to make the things click in your head. And then if you're looking for a partner, we have the SparkKr Partner Network, which is brands, which are creative agencies and individuals who are some of our top creators in the ecosystem. And they are able to be found on our website, or you can reach out to me or Sophie, and we can help partner you if, or help suggest someone that you can reach out to.
Very nice.
Agreed. I think it's just, you know, even if you're scared to download AR Studio, check out the website. I think like the first thing is, if you have an understanding or a general understanding, you know, Chris and I walk through some of the capabilities and functionalities. I think that will help you as well. So it's not this scary new tech that you can't understand. Like, I think having those fundamentals and then trying to build an experience yourself, or reaching out with a partner who's experienced with Spark, is also a really great route.
Cool. Let's see, if marketers want to learn more about AR themselves, kind of before they dip in and start doing it, are there any resources or educational or training opportunities or anything online that you guys could point them to?
So I think we have a ton. So you know, I think Chris mentioned we have this really great creator community on Facebook, and a lot of them actually have their own YouTube channels, or they launch IGTV series. So I think Chris and I are definitely happy to maybe provide some links if that's helpful. But then also our website too has just a ton of really great documentation. We do have some case studies, I believe, on like the Facebook business side. So if you search AR ads for Facebook, you'll be able to find case studies as well, if that's something if that's of interest as well.
Yeah, I'll say the best resource, lean in on like YouTube and the community. Like, that's where you're gonna find the most stuff. And since our community is a very global community, you're gonna find it in every single language, about every single topic. Usually the YouTube videos are more up to date because they're publishing these things on like a repetitive basis. There's even a creator, if you just wanna like watch one tonight. His name is Don Allen Jr. He goes live every night and builds 3D models and AR effects on his Instagram TV story every single day. He works at DreamWorks. He's one of our Spark creators as well. So if you want to see a creator do it live, that's also another route you can go as well.
I love it. That's really cool. And I think the fun thing is, I've asked every presenter today what educational or courses or whatnot they would give people. And almost every single person said, just go on the internet and follow people that are doing it now, just trial by fire. Yeah. I love it, because that's the world we're in right now, right? Like, all of the resources and assets are at our disposal to learn anything we want to learn. That's a really exciting time in history. So very cool. Is there anything else before we wrap today that you guys want to make sure that a marketer considering AR as part of their marketing program for 2021 really takes into consideration and thinks about as they're putting the budget together, as they're getting ready to go pitch the senior leadership team?
I think for me, everything that we listed on the deck or in the deck, but another one is start to really think about AR as a natural part of your existing campaigns, right? I think that's really important to do, to keep it true to your partners, to yourself. That's like a takeaway, and just keeping it simple. AR doesn't always have to be this extremely elaborate thing that both you and then the end consumer are confused about. So keeping it simple is always like a great tip as well. And Chris, we'll let you chime in too.
Yeah, I Sophie hit it. Just keep it simple, experiment. You're already going to do campaigns if you are. Think how AR could plug into that. The great thing is if you build an AR experience in SparkKr Studio, you can use that same experience across Facebook, Instagram, and like all of our family of apps. It's the exact thing, which is great. So if you're going to put the investment on an Instagram filter, you can also run it in an AR ad or an AR something else. So just think about it from that perspective. Keep it simple, like she said. It doesn't have to be complicated. One of the best practices is make some of the things that perform really well are ones that make you look good, make you laugh, are tied to a culturally relevant moment. What's the fourth one, Sophie? Do you remember the fourth one? I don't know. But just make it fun for those users on that platform, right? Like people don't like apps shoved in their face. So make it something that is shareable, evergreen. Don't put tons of title treatment in it. Make it fun because that's what they're going to those apps to do. And once you create a really shareable, fun experience, people are going to share it. You're going to get your brand out there regardless because it's going to just take off without you having to slap your logo on someone's face, right? It doesn't have to be like that. You see those effects, like that's one of the driving things. We opened it up to Instagram. It was like, we don't want our effects to be seen as ads. That's why we have AR ads, right? And you have that ad unit in the creative, and then you go into it and you have everything else. So think of your effects as gifts to your users, and think about what would they love from you, because they'll naturally, if they love your brand, they're going to share that and engage with it on a high rate. So.
I love that. Think of it as gifts to your users. That's a beautiful way to summarize it. That really just completely changes your perspective of being an advertising or marketing campaign to really just being a smart engagement strategy. So you just summarized it all beautifully. Well, Sophie and Chris, thank you so much. You were wonderful to close out today's Data Over Instinct 2020. We really appreciate all the insights and value that you brought. I know a lot of people have been thinking about dipping their toe into AR as well as some other innovative tech, and you've really given us a lot to think about as far as how to measure it and make it impactful. So thank you both. And then thank you for all of our attendees. We've had a great time in this pandemic trying to get everybody together for 2 days of learning, and hopefully you all found it valuable. We'll be sending the links out to all of today's presentations over the next couple of days, so look for it. And otherwise, everybody have a safe and great weekend.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.